Hi. So basically at work we're having a little sort of mini staff party just before Christmas, and I was told that you need to wear your Christmas jumper and Christmas hat. Now this is glittery, sort of like a Santa hat, but glittery, no bauble, just the usual white bit at the bottom. And I think this was something like £1, £2, so not very expensive at all. But I thought I'd do something different with it. So rather than going for a super snazzy hat, anything like that, I thought I'd take a standard hat and see if we can modify it in some way to make it more interesting. So I've gone ahead and I've been putting together a circuit. So what I've got here is I've got some LED tape. Now this is the WS2812B. These are the 50/50 LEDs. I think they're 50/50 size, with the built-in driver chips. So I've had about, I think it's about 1 metre, but I've cut it a bit short at the minute to fit this hat. I've had this a while. I've just been playing around with it, mainly using the Raspberry Pi and that. So I thought, well, I'll see. I want something low powered. So the idea with this was to actually put this tape inside and then sort of stitch it in so it runs along the bottom edge of the hat there. So I thought, well, I want it to run lower powered, so I hadn't really looked much into whether or not you could sort of drive this, drive the LEDs off something like an Arduino. So I did a bit of research, and yes, you can. The library I'm using is the FastLED library, and at the minute I'm just running some example code. I should probably update it a bit, fiddle around with the patterns, etc. But this is really just kind of throwing it together as something to use for this one day. I expect what I'm going to do is get a better hat and do something similar for New Year's Eve. So I expect I'll probably reuse this circuit, but just improve on it. So we got that. I originally used a 1000 microfarad resistor. I got a 1800 capacitor, sorry. 1800 microfarad capacitor at the minute. 6.3 volts is fine. That's just used as a bit of buffering on the power, just to make sure that I think you can get issues sometimes if you run it without the capacitor. It can drop the power slightly, and that can cause issues with the signals being sent to the LEDs. Arduino wise, or not Arduino as such, I'm using the Adafruit's Trinket 5V board. It seemed like a best option because it's nice and small, as you can see. I did have a pin header already on there, and I wasn't going to bother to unsolder it, so I just cut the pins off at the end. I only need really one output, so that's absolutely fine. And yeah, we got straightforward USB to plug in if we want to change the code or anything. So we just got our power coming into the LED strip, and then our data line is on pin 3 on the Trinket. Now for power, I found this old sort of mobile phone style battery. This one's rated 1500 milliamp hours. I'm not quite sure yet what the capacity is really going to be like in terms of driving this. The actual strip doesn't seem to use much power when it is doing its patterns, sort of about 30-40 milliamps. So I don't mind if it only lasts an hour or something in the minute. This is sort of just sort of prototyping really, and just throwing it together. So for actually turning it on and off, I was having a dig through and I can't find any switches. So I've just simply got a couple of these DuPont type connectors, and then I can just plug it in like that, just to power it up. So that's just in line with the battery feed. So what I'm doing here is this battery doesn't really have much in the way of protection. I think it's got overload protection built in, but I couldn't find any other information. So I wanted to make sure that obviously there was a way of charging it, and that it wouldn't run down too low and then just drain the battery completely. So I've just got one of these little charger boards. These are TP406, is it? Correct me if I'm wrong, I can't remember. I'll get a data sheet and link it in. Its little charger balls are brilliant. So I've got one of those, and battery just coming in there, then the output's coming out here. So if I plug this in, I'll get the LED tape along here, and we'll turn the lights off so you can see better. So this is just running one of the example codes from there. It takes a little while when you first power it up before anything happens. Not quite sure why that is. You just get static LEDs for a short period, and then it goes into its whatever's on the been programmed into it. So say at the moment this is just example code. I think this is color palette. I think I'm using. Seems to work quite well for what I wanted. I'll probably stick with the example code and just modify it a little bit as well. So as you can see, that's working quite well. So the whole idea then really is to get this tucked inside here. Now this is kind of going to be the slightly tricky bit, I think, is trying to work out how to get it all fitted in. That's why I went for a small battery, because I didn't want to have wires coming down and sort of having to have a battery pack in your pocket or something. Wanted something that you could easily just throw on, sort of thing. So that's kind of what I'm sort of aiming to go for, really, is get that tucked in at the bottom like that, and all the way around, and then we'll just try and tuck the circuitry in there as well, and the battery should certainly fit in there. It just had a bit of bulk. I'll try and maybe put it at the back or something. It probably won't be super comfortable to wear, I'm sure. But yeah, this is just kind of just an idea, really. But that's kind of what I'm going to go for. So what I'm going to do now is spend a bit of time with some cotton and just try and sew this strip in. Keep that in. It's got some self-adhesive on the back, but that's not really going to stick very well to this. So I'll stitch it in place and then try and work out how to get the electronics in there as well. The wiring could be shorter. I'll certainly improve on that, I think, in a future build on it. But as long as I can sort of tuck it in there all out of the way, just put a bit of heat shrink or something over these components just to stop them from shorting out of each other. So earlier in the video I was showing you my plans for putting these WS2812 LEDs. These are the LEDs we saw earlier in the video that have the little chip built in, so you can send control signals to them and get them to do various things individually. So it's now Saturday, and I started shooting this video a week ago when I was rushing to get the build done before I went away, and this was in preparation for yesterday, Friday. So we had a little staff party at work, and wanted to put this together for that. So as we can see, we're back at the hat and everything's in there, and I'm pleased to say it went down quite well. People seem to like it and be quite impressed with it. So here's the battery. We got that soldered in, all connected. Then here we've got the little I'm using the trinket, adafruit trinket there, and we've got it's TP4056, I think it's the right word. A little charge controller there for the battery. It made sense to have a way of charging it as well, and also that adds a bit of protection for over discharge. While I was playing around with it last week, I did manage to, one of the wires came off, which is the power wire going out. So what I've got here is basically breaking the power line so that I can just connect these together and then tuck it underneath to turn it on. So one of those wires came off, so I had to solder that one back on, and actually two wires came off, a ground wire as well, which goes to the LED tape. That came off as well, but that seems to work without it. So that got me a bit puzzled there, because it shouldn't really work without the ground. But I'm guessing what's happening is the data line to the LED tape is also passing the ground back again. So because it doesn't draw much current with the amount of tape I've got, it's not overloading the trinket at all. So I'll connect up the wire there to power it up, and there's a bit of a delay before it actually does anything, and then the lights come on. So as you can see, I've got them running all round the light there, and it gives quite an effective quite a nice effect. I didn't get round to actually changing the code. I'm just using the sample from the FastLED library, so we get the various different patterns that are built into that example code. So the stitching is not brilliant on here. It was literally thrown together, just designed to do its job for one day. So as I said earlier in the video, I'm planning on building something for New Year's Eve. So not quite sure what hat I'm going to use yet. I'm not going to use this one. I wanted something a bit more stylish, so I'm probably going to pop out to the shops today and have a look and see if I can find something to use, and then I'll take the insides out of this, put it into the new hat. I've got some more of this tape if I need any more tape, and yeah, I should probably be doing a video on that over the next few days, as I've only got a week to do it. So this is just kind of showing off what we've achieved really with this build. The battery life is actually pretty impressive. Yesterday I ran it for about 3 hours at work, and came home and just left it running for about a further 4 to 5 hours last night to see if it would deplete the battery, and nope, it's still going. And can't remember off the top of my head what the capacity of the battery was, but it's not a very big battery at all in there. So the current draw is low enough that it should run probably for about 12 hours or even more. I'm not quite sure, but I don't really need to worry too much about testing. It runs long enough for what I needed it for, and that battery should suffice for doing something for New Year's Eve. So I hope you liked that video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can be notified of my new and upcoming videos. And on a side note, I'm redesigning the website to make it a much sort of better layout, more things on there, etc. So that will be something that you will see changing over the coming weeks. Have a good Christmas everybody, and I'll see you soon for the next video. Cheers.